These images are shot with 3 different lenses at different budgets, from $379 to $1,898. The difference in image quality is not that big for a talking head video, but the price difference is huge. I will show you how to choose the perfect lens for your talking head videos without wasting money and without sacrificing quality. Let's find out what you don't need, what you need, and what are the greatest lenses for talking head videos and what are the prices. Let's go. What you don't need. This is so important. Avoid wasting money on things you don't need. Don't buy a lens just because you hear other creator recommending it. Let's analyze a talking head video. Do you like this image? What can you observe? The camera doesn't move, it's on a tripod. Maybe at some point we can move a little bit, but nothing crazy. In this case, we don't need a lens with optical stabilization, and a lens with optical stabilization is a little bit expensive. So cutting this out of our equation, we know we don't care about image stabilization, and if we don't need image stabilization, we can find more affordable lenses, and of course I will show you some examples immediately, but first let's make a list with what we don't need and what we need. Let's go further and analyze more. Look at these big talking head creators. What do you see that they have in common? All these creators shoot their talking head videos indoor, in the studio, bedroom, house or office. We do talking head videos, so we don't shoot in snow, rain, dust or heavy conditions. So we don't need to pay extra for weather-sealed lenses. One more thing you don't need for a talking head video. You have your camera on a tripod, so you don't care how big or heavy the lens is. Now let's see what we need for talking head videos. This is so important, but first let me clarify the focal length. Which focal length is the best for talking head videos? Most of the time a talking head shot is made in an office, apartment room, bedroom or studio. So we don't have enough space to use an 85mm lens, 100 or 200mm lens. We need wider lenses. When I shoot a talking head video, I prefer to have the camera pretty close to me, so I can reach and change some settings without any help. The distance between me and the camera right now, it's about 4-5 feet. And the distance between me and the background, it's around 7 to 8 feet. For something like this, if you use a crop sensor camera, I recommend a lens between 16 and 35mm. If you have a big space, you can use a 50mm, but you need a pretty big space. And if you use a full-frame camera, I recommend a lens between 24 and 50mm. I will give you some examples in a few moments, but first, let's make the second list with what we need for talking head videos. When we shoot a talking head video like this, we have our cameras in front of us. So we need to be relaxed, we need to move our hands, we need to make some gestures with our hands, maybe we need to show something to the camera, or we move a little bit, because we are humans, we don't stay in a fixed position like this the entire video, we move a little bit. So one important thing we really need from our lenses is for them to be independent and do the job for us when it comes to autofocus. Your talking head lens should be a super fast autofocus lens and also a silent lens. I tried in the past some amazing lenses, but the autofocus motor was so noisy and my microphone was picking up those noises all the time. It's extremely annoying. Look at one of my lenses, how fast it is. This is what we need, something super fast. I will show you some exact lenses and prices to choose from in a few moments. The next super important thing to pay attention to is this number here. I will explain this as simple as I can without going into too many technical details. If this number is lower, like 2.8 or 2 or 1.8 or 1.4, the image will be brighter and the blur behind the subject will be more pronounced. When the F is higher, like 3.5 or 5.6 or 8, your image will be darker and the blur will disappear. Some lenses are capable of letting more light in faster and other lenses are not, and less light will be let in. I'm pretty sure that you want and like that blur behind you, and you can achieve that blur in two ways. Having a long lens like 85mm, 100mm, 200mm, or having a fast lens with f1.4, 1.8, 2 or 2.8. We already know that we can't use a long lens like 85mm or 200mm because we don't have enough space and we want our cameras close to us. So we need to use a fast lens, maybe with f2.8 or lower. Pay attention to this number and choose a lens with this number as low as possible. My favorite aperture is 2.8. Right now I'm using a 2.8 lens, even if I use a crop sensor or a full frame sensor. Of course, you can go to 1.4 if you want, but this is a little bit trickier because you can go out of focus super fast if you move a little bit. Of course, a lens with f2.8 or lower, it's more expensive. It is how it is. And I will show you some pretty affordable lenses in a few moments. We need to find out one more important thing we need to take into consideration. Do you need a zoom lens or a prime lens? For talking head videos, you can do excellent content with both, but there are some advantages and disadvantages. A prime lens, it's a fixed lens. You can't zoom in or out, it's fixed. But you can choose a prime lens with the best focal length for you, and you can find it more affordable at f1.8, 1.4 than a zoom lens with f1.4 or 1.8 or even 2.8. On the other hand, a zoom lens is more versatile. Maybe sometimes you want to shoot a little bit wider, sometimes you want to have a little bit more zoom, and this is incredibly good. But a zoom lens with constant f2.8, as an example, it's more expensive than a prime lens with f2.8. And when I say constant f2.8, that means you can use your lens at any focal length with f2.8. If you have, let's say, a lens like this, 16 to 35mm, even if you are at 16mm or at 35mm, the f will be constant. With this lens, for example, the f is 3.5, 5.6, which means when I have my focal length at 18mm, the minimum f will be at 3.5, and when I zoom in at 135mm, the minimum f can be 5.6. Of course, you can do great talking head videos at f3.5. This is the common aperture for kit lenses, but if you want that blur behind you, if you want a better lens in low light situations, the best will be to find a lens with f2.8 or lower. So let's see some lenses and prices. In my video about how to choose your camera for talking head videos, I recommended the Sony ZV-10. I like and use Sony cameras, but doesn't matter if you use other brands, just keep in mind what you need and what you don't need. But if you use Sony, I have some solutions for you, and I will try to recommend the best lenses with the best quality and still affordable. If you use a crop camera for talking head videos and you want a prime affordable lens, one of the most common lenses is the Sigma 16mm f1.4. It's a prime lens, and this is how the image looks like. It's pretty wide and it's $379. I will add affiliate links in the description for all these lenses. You won't pay anything extra if you use my links, but I will earn a small commission, and this is a way to help my channel. Thank you. Also, you can find a 30mm version with f1.4 if you really want something with f1.4, and this lens is even cheaper, $279. Now I have something more interesting here. If you want a zoom lens but wide enough on a crop sensor and a full frame sensor, this is important, you can try Tamron 20 to 40mm f2.8, constant f2.8. This lens is a little bit more expensive, but you have zoom and you can use it on crop and also on full frame. On a crop sensor, this will be an equivalent of 30 to 60mm. It's wide enough, and if you buy this, use it on your crop camera, and in the future you will upgrade to a full frame camera, you can use the same lens. Also, if you want something wider, you can use Tamron 11 to 20, which is super wide on full frame, too wide in my opinion, but on crop it's 16.5mm to 30mm, also $699. You can also find Sony 35mm f2.8 for full frame $599, or Sony 24mm f2.8 $549 right now. And of course the greatest Sony G Master 16 to 35mm f2.8 constant, but this lens is $1,898. And many other lenses at a higher or lower price, but you can have the best lens in the world and still have low quality talking head videos if you don't take care of the next super important step that I showed you in this video. Watch this video and let's create amazing talking head videos.